Hello and welcome to another round of the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. I am JB, setting it up for Hall of Famer, good friend, the man of the moment, Frank Thomas. Frank, how you doing?
Great, JB. How's everything going, buddy?
I'm having a good time. I'm watching a pretty incredible series, watching you do your work, but I'm comfortably at home. I know you're out there in the elements doing the hard work. How's that been? You having a good time?
It was great until the temperature dropped yesterday. It got really cold last night. It felt like it was about 35. They said it was 49, but that wind was whipping back through the stadium. It was really cold.
It was, just so you know, I was snuggled in nicely on my couch having a good time as we look forward to an exciting series.
Thanks, rub it
in. No problem. Between those Cubs and those Indians, folks, get your device fired up. Ask Frank a question directly. Don't let me get in the way. If you can't get to it, hashtag Chatting Cage on Twitter, and I'll read it as best I can. And use the MLB Fans app. If you don't want to be seen, just use a comment like this one. Blue Jay Bay 20 wants to know, Frank, do you still own the baseball glove you used when you were growing up?
Not at all. Actually, I had it for a long while, and I think I lost it once I moved to Chicago.
Oh, so you just lost it?
I lost it.
Oh, man.
I moved a lot of my stuff from down south, and I lost that glove.
All right,
it was the same glove I had on the baseball card that had my initial FT. It was awesome.
Oh, man, it's too bad. Somebody found that somewhere, has no idea the incredible glove they found. This is the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. I'm JB. That's Frank Thomas. Get your questions fired up. Fire up your device and join us here in the cage. Be a fan. Ask your question. What's your name, where you're from? What is your question for Frank Thomas?
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm from Crown Point, Indiana. Frank, congrats. It's the 11-year anniversary of the White Sox winning the World Series. I was wondering who your favorite teammate of all time was.
Thank you. That's a tough question. I had like 4 or 5 guys that stick out. I would say like James Baldwin, Tim Raines, Billy Seamus, Robin Ventura. I think those 4 right there were pretty good. But I had some other guys too, like Lance Johnson, who was really tight with me also. So it's a hard question to say who was your favorite teammate, because later in my career I had guys like Nick Swisher I hung out with every day, who made the game really fun for me, and a few more in Toronto. So Roy Halladay was one of those guys too. So Roy Halladay was one of those guys too. So it's one of those things that I had a lot of good friends in baseball.
Frank has played with some great players and being a great teammate himself. Describe that. Thanks for letting us in to see so many great players you played with, and you were democratic about it. You didn't pick anybody out. Nobody's feelings we heard about that. An outstanding answer as well. That's the Big Hurt. I'm JB. This is the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. I'm going to go to the MLB Fans app, and this is a great question because it's I know it was a very special moment and a heck of a speech. Travis Scott wants to know, how honored were you to be a first ballot Hall of Famer? And what was the weekend like?
It meant a lot, man. I mean, that's one of the scariest votes of all time, when you have so many guys eligible at the same time. And we had one of the biggest classes they've had, to go into Cooperstown at the same time. So it was on the edge for about a month. But once I got that call, I was elated because, I gave my heart and soul to the game. First guy there, the last guy to leave for many, many years. I would say for 20 years. So I felt blessed. I really did.
Thanks for sharing that. I know that was a tremendous weekend and a speech that will stand the test of time. As you said, you had great teammates. I think you thanked all of them, which was a pretty remarkable moment.
Oh, yeah.
This is the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. Another fan steps in the cage. What's your name? What is your question for the Big Hurt?
Hi, my name's Mike. I'm from Brooklyn. Frank, just a question for you about the World Series. Which player on each team you think needs to step it up the most for his team to win the World Series?
I think when you first say the Cubs, because they're down 1-0, I think it's got to be Chris Bryant or Anthony Rizzo. I think one of those guys need to have a big game tonight. And also Jake Arrieta. He's got to come out of Cy Young form tonight to shut the Cleveland Indians down if they have a chance of winning. I think on the other side, to be honest, I think Lindor and Kipnis, as long as they keep playing well, the rest of this team will be okay. But it's led by Lindor.
Lindor, one of the most electric shortstops in baseball right now, a young guy with a great heart and plays that game really well. It's the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. That's Big Hurt.
He reminds me of a young Robbie Alomar.
Absolutely. Man, they could have that career as well, without a doubt. I've met him a few times, too. Just a tremendous person, like a really, really good dude. We go back now to the MLB Fans app. Kerchief for Cubs wants to know. I like this one. I hope I know the answer. Frank, do you think you could have hit off a Kluber last night?
I was a very well-prepared hitter.
Mm-hmm.
I like to use the whole field. If I'd have watched tape on him and watched his pattern, I would have been looking to right center, and try to make sure I squared the ball up to right center with him because he was vicious last night. I mean, he hit spot after spot after spot. The only shot you had was to take him opposite field, and I don't think the Cub right-handed hitters, did enough of that.
Great insight as well, and going to show how Frank thought about hitting and why it was so successful. I totally agree with you. It seemed like they had that adrenaline going, maybe looking to pull a few that were meant for the other field, as we saw the success they did have. This is the Edward Jones Chatting Cage World Series edition. That's Hall of Famer Big Hurt. I'm JB. Get your device fired up. Join us here in the cage. And if not, hashtag Chatting Cage. And also the MLB Fans app, which is where I go to for this one. Andrew Miller Thomas wants to know, Frank, what baseball player all time do you admire the most and why?
Been a boy from Georgia. It's got to be Hank Aaron. Growing up, he was that guy. He just, set tremendous records and meant so much to the state. And to break the home run record when I was a baby, basically, and a young kid that followed up 5-6 years to continue to hear about it. He had to be my guy growing up.
One of the greats, and certainly, as Frank said, from Georgia, he would be a guy you would look up to, and I think anybody would be okay looking up to Hank in that way. Folks, get your questions in, hashtag Chatting Cage, the MLB Fans app, or get your device fired up, and join us right here in the cage and get FaceTime with Frank like this fan. What's your name? What's your question for the Big Hurt?
Hi, I'm PJ Ingram from Plymouth, Michigan. Frank, it's an honor to talk to you. I was wondering what your favorite career moment was.
You know what? I mean, it was big to be a part of the World Series team that won the World Championship. But my biggest moment probably was in the 1995 All-Star game when I won the home run derby the night before and hit a home run in the game. I think those back-to-back days really put me on the map as a baseball player.
What was that 48 hours like for you? I'm going to follow up on that because we've talked about some things, but I don't think I actually thought about that. The sort of, because you didn't know what was going to happen. Obviously, you went into the Derby excited, but the back-to-back 48 hours of that in the scope of baseball, what was that like for you? Did it change your approach in any way to where you were in the league?
It was crazy. I mean, I had just won back-to-back MVPs the years before, and it just legitimized me as a career player. I think a lot of people really start paying attention after that 48 hours, JB.
Without a doubt. Surprised they didn't notice it beforehand, but everybody took notice then. I go now to the EDJ question of the day. Frank, if you could choose one pitcher to face, current or past, that you never had the chance to face, who would that be and why?
You know what? Pitching is so great now. I love watching the pitching nowadays. I think the hitting has changed. I think guys are more geared to hit home runs now. But when you watch these young pitchers pitch, it's hard. It's hard to say who. I think Sandy Koufax. I heard so much about Sandy Koufax. I would love to face Sandy Koufax.
I speak from a fan's point of view where I'd be okay watching that. We could set that up. Even now, I think could set that up. Be something to watch.
Well, I got so much respect for him, and I've met him now personally at the Hall of Fame, JB, and such a class act. But when you go to Cooperstown, all the guys there, the older guys, are like, he was tough. You wouldn't want too much of that.
Outstanding. This is the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. That's Frank Thomas. Getting your insights as well. Get your thoughts and questions. Hashtag Chatting Cage on Twitter. And I'm going to ask this because I think I may already know the answer, but maybe not everybody knows. This is from Anthony. Aspiring Anthony wants to know. Frank, would you do a show with Pete Rose? I'd love to see the Pete and Frank show.
Of course. I mean, Pete is, he's an encyclopedia on a daily basis. Man, never take notes, but he knows so much about the game. And when you get on TV, it is real live, nothing scripted with him. He pays attention. He listens to everything, and he comes back really fast. So, yeah, any day. We'll love to.
There you have Anthony. There's your question. So thanks for asking that. I go back now to the MLB Fans app. This is from MWEG517, who I know has watched a few things. Frank, how hard was it to grind it out in the playoffs and play through anything?
When the world's watching, I think the pressure builds for any player if you care enough. So I understand what these guys are going through. It's not as easy as playing in the regular season. But yeah, I mean, you got to be there for your team. You got to come down to team baseball in the playoffs. You got to do the little things. You got to come out of character a little bit. You got to advance the runners. You got to do things that when you in a regular season game you wouldn't concentrate on as much. But when you're playing in a World Series, you got to do those little things.
There you have it, folks. Insights into what it takes to grind it out and get through the playoffs from the Hall of Famer himself, the Big Hurt, as he answers your questions here in the Edward Jones Chatting Cage World Series edition. Get your device fired up like this, fan. What's your name? What's your question for Frank?
Hi, I'm Bryce. JB and Frank, thanks so much for taking the time to do this. Even though I wasn't quite born yet when you had your MLB debut, Frank, I still had the pleasure of watching you growing up as a kid. This is amazing. I'm just wondering, you've had such an illustrious career. What was your favorite season or year as a professional baseball player? Baseball related or not, just what made that season amazing and why? Thanks for doing this.
Well, Bryce, thanks for the great question. I just think 2006, because, on the way on the door out of Chicago, got a World Series ring, but I had been injured a lot over the last year and a half before that. And a lot of people were doubting what was my career done. And to go to another team and have a huge impact on a lot of young guys, and we got back to the playoffs, got to the LCS. We didn't finish because Detroit was very, very good that year. So I think 2006 in Oakland was a revival for my career. So I remember that year. It really sticks out for me.
There you have it, Bryce. There's your answer to that 2006 season. Great question as well. Well phrased and well thought out. I'm glad that despite dating Frank a little bit, I think it was still an excellent question in terms of age. Frank, I know you have a ton of work. We had to get this in. They moved that game up. You got to get in the studio, start bundling up, start putting coats on for that outdoor thing. Did you have fun talking to the fans for this World Series round?
Something like that. You know what, JB? This is fun, man. I can talk baseball all day long. I love the game so much. So this is easy.
We love having you. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you, talk with you at any time, especially about baseball. I know you're busy. Get back to work. I appreciate it. I'll be watching from a nice, comfortable couch. You're the best. Thank you, Big Hurt.
Well, thanks for having me, JB. We need to hook up again, man. We got another series of commercials to do. They were legendary.
Always in. Everybody, that's the Big Hurt. I want to thank you for being with us for this World Series edition of the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. I think we'll see you next time, probably around winter meetings.
Miss you, buddy.
See you, bud.